Hi, I'm Mike London, and I'm visiting with artists who work in the Miami Valley. CultureWorks supports an enormous number of organizations and a lot of individual artists who work right here in Montgomery County. And this adventure of mine for the past week and for a while to come is to visit with many of those artists. And this is a chance for you to get to know the artists that are right here in our community. Today, I am speaking with Caitlin Cartwright. And I will not define your art first. I will say this much, you're a visual artist, but beyond that, I want you to tell me about your art.
Okay. Hi. Thank you, Michael. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm Caitlin. I'm an artist. I call myself a painter. And I would say I do kind of decently large scale, colorful narrative pieces. So I love storytelling, and I love the idea of connecting people to people via storytelling. And I do that through art. I'm not a writer, so I do it through painting. So I love to kind of tell stories with the paintings that I make. I incorporate collage. I have usually there's elements of certain geographical places. I've lived in a lot of different locations, so that's important to me. um, I work a lot with silhouettes. I work a lot with something that's kind of covered up and something that's revealing a little bit. Something is always a little bit of a mystery. But I would say that I really love also kind of summing it up. I love to focus in my storytelling on pieces of hope and resilience.
What, what took you down this particular track? When I look at your work, I mean, that element of storytelling is so there. And I look at it and it's so unique. The first thing that caught me about your work was the color. I'll admit, it's the very first thing. It just grabs me. And then I started looking, and I look deeper into each picture. But what took you down that road as opposed to, there's so many other directions. What was it?
So I think for me, it started probably after my undergrad, right? So I went to
Yeah.
school in Baltimore. I studied painting at MICA. And after I finished school there, I kind of had a moment that I think a lot of people have after graduation of just like, oh, and it's specifically arts education,
Yes, I do.
And I also I kind of had this feeling a little bit with that of just like I wanted something more in my life, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And so it ended up being let me move to Madagascar. So I just kind of like on a whim, I moved to Madagascar for a year. And that kind of really started my love of kind of like really in depth, learning about other people, other communities, other culture. I think, sometimes when you stay in your own community and your own culture, things just seem so like every day, nothing seems special, I think, just because you're used to it, right? So kind of for me, it was taking myself out of my own box and kind of having to do it all over again in another place that clicked for me, like, oh my gosh, like this is what I love. I love, learning about other people and finding what connects us, and now of course, that's in my own community, and it has been too, but it was spurred through this other kind of very kind of foreign experience. And so from there, I've lived in several other places, including Namibia for a few years, India, all over the US, different places. And so kind of along the way, I think, not only what I just described, but, kind of collecting, I always call it my visual vocabulary of,
Mhm.
picking up like, oh, this is new to me. Like I've never seen a leaf that looks like this, or I've never seen a pattern like this, or oh my gosh, what scene did I just see, of like, this cow with horns or whatever, so those things kind of add up. And that's kind of what I rely on to help tell stories.
Wow. Where do you see your work going now? What are you doing right now?
Oh man.
I
Okay.
know, what's one of those big questions?
Well, so speaking of community, right? And
Yeah.
right, so I actually I was really lucky. I was a recipient of the Culture Works 2020 individual artist grants. And I'm actually just right now wrapping up a body of work that was inspired by the events that happened in Dayton last summer. So, we had a hard summer here, from the KKK to the tornadoes to the shootings, and that
Absolutely.
was something, that affected us as a collective community as well as individuals, including myself and my family. So, when I was applying for that grant, I was really thinking about, I spend so much time kind of in other cultures. I love the idea of social change through art. And to me, this really just screamed like this is an opportunity to do this within my own community, which was really, an exciting thing. Just because, obviously it was such a painful summer. Um, but again, like I said, I love to focus on those moments of hope, seeing what our community did to come together and, rely on each other and rebuild and, form those, loving bonds. That was really special to me. And that's what I wanted to focus on. And I was also able to partner with an organization, We Care Arts, in the community, who I actually work with. That's my day job over there. I'm the director of programming,
Oh,
but it's a wonderful organization that works with people, with developmental disabilities or mental health diagnosis. And so our clients were very specifically affected, by what happened over the summer. So I was able to do a workshop there, and we created, pieces of art that were they were block prints, so kind of creating a pattern inspired by something that was hopeful for them. And those pieces, they donated their work to me and to this project, and they've been incorporated into this body of work I'm finishing right now.
oh, that's wonderful. What do you find is the most, you know, your career isn't fresh in the sense of you've just started. You've had a little bit of time in your career. What do you find is the most challenging thing for you as an artist? What's been the biggest challenge?
Mm, for me, the biggest challenge,
Mhm.
I think, has been, finding a way to support and balance, my art practice, right? Like I've mentioned, I kind of move around a lot.
Sure.
So, I've been in kind of all different physical environments, kind of typically like, in small, like one room houses or apartments or something, so just finding the space was hard. Um, and just being so busy, I kind of tend to like, I'll do this for a while, then I'll do this, so focusing art, maybe do this for a couple months out of the year or something. So it was really kind of moving back to Dayton when I was able to really kind of strike that balance of, you know, like I have a studio in my house, which is where I'm sitting right now, which I'm really grateful for.
Wonderful.
And I've been really lucky here too that this is a community that really embraces and supports artists.
Oh,
Um, it's not a walk in the park all the time. It's not easy. It's hard work. You still have to work and try and apply for things and make
mhm.
connections and all of that. But I have been, very, happy and excited that this is a community that really embraces its artists.
Yeah. It is a lucky place for so many of us to be,
Mhm.
especially, yeah, when it comes to the arts. Who do you you mentioned that, traveling and living different places. I've been very lucky, so I've had that same experience. And that travel and those other cultures, they have an impact on you. They have an impact on whatever your work is. Um, and sometimes you find inspiration there. But sometimes we find inspiration in other artists and other work that's out. What do you see that's out there now that you're in Dayton and you're settling in Dayton? What do you see that's inspiring to you, that's exciting?
Um, well, locally, I mean, there's so much going on. I would say, what's happening over at Front Street is just amazing.
Mhm.
Carol and Richard Lundeen, who have really taken that establishment to the next level, and they're so supporting of artists. So it's so cool to see, what's going on in all of those artists that are there and really just flourishing.
Yeah, and
Um,
for somebody who doesn't know what that is, describe it real quick.
no, so it's an old warehouse, and my understanding, I think they used to make envelopes. Um, yeah, and so it's artists' studios, and it opens up a few times a month. On first Friday, and then they do the Saturday after, third Sunday, and they you know it's really DIY, but it's like kind of I don't know, I kind of think about it as like elevated DIY, like people are really serious
Yeah,
over there. And so you can see such a variety of people, working over there to kind of like self-run whole galleries, like the Detroit Gallery,
yep,
a divisible space, to people's, studios that they just open up, like Mike Elsa's studio, Julie Riley's studio, that you can
yeah,
go in and see people like just doing what they're doing. And it's so cool.
yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. We're really lucky. Yeah. Um, why do you think you're why do you think you're an artist? I'm really sort of curious about that question. I bug a lot of people with it. Why are you an artist? And
I've never heard that question before.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I mean, you know what? I just heard a quote today,
yeah.
um, that I thought was so beautiful. I can't remember who said it, but it was, I think regarding poetry,
Mhm.
and that was, kind of like talking about how, art making and creation is a practice, right? And so you have to continue doing it. And I'm going to butcher it, but it was something like, um, every, uh, something like everyone is a poet when they're 8, but like a real poet is someone who is still writing poems when they're 80. So
Yeah,
something, it's something that everybody is born with, right? I think this art, it goes across the board for the arts. Kids love it, and they're unfiltered, and you just create, right? There's a need within everybody, and it goes away for some people, or they stop doing it. But people who continue to do it and kind of continue to have that need, to express, and then who follow through with the practice to do it, those are the people, who become artists.
yeah.
And I guess for me, that was important to keep doing it and keep trying to push and tell stories the way I do.
Your work, one of the things that's interesting to me about your work is not just the first thing that hits me is the color. It really does. It's just exciting. Your juxtaposition and your colors, they just grab me. But there's something that I found in your work. Um, I guess the best way I can put it is that there's a rhythm.
Mm,
There really is a rhythm in your work. Um, I look at the piece, and it's sometimes it's that series of repeating trees or what, but there is a patterns. I think you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
It's
no, yeah.
fascinating. I'm curious how conscious that is. It's delightful.
I would say that might not be super conscious. I've never
But it's
I've
there.
I've never like, thought like, let me get this rhythm. I've never heard someone describe my work as having that rhythm,
It
but
really does.
it makes sense what you're saying. And I mean, I don't know if we're kind of like thinking like bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that is so important to me is, in life and in my art, right, is, you know, kind of people being able to break down, superficial barriers
Mhm.
that exist between us, and to see like, you know, to take away all that and to connect on a human to human level, right? Um, and so to me, it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of, I always think about, kind of life having that kind of rhythm,
Mhm.
for everybody. And how there is kind of that repetition. And we see this in myself, and I see this in someone else, and kind of having that kind of, you
Yeah.
know, kind of
It's
thing.
there, the patterns and stuff. I find it fascinating. I think it's delightful. If well, before I got a couple more questions, but I really have to ask. So if I'm out there and I'm viewing this and I go, this sounds interesting. I want to see or what, where would someone go? How can someone, especially in today's age with we're dealing with the pandemic, I mean, there may be an exhibit coming, but maybe it won't open tomorrow. So you know what I'm talking about. So if I want to see Caitlin's work, where would you tell people to go?
All right. So for right now, right, everything is online. And I mean, I just keep saying over and over again, like, thank God we live in the year that we live in right now for this, right? This technology available to us. So, yeah,
Yes,
so I
amen.
have a website, it's just CaitlinCartwright.com.
Yeah.
I have Facebook, Caitlin Cartwright, Instagram, Caitlin Cartwright, where I share a bunch of things. I have a couple publications out in the world right now. So I'm in Create Magazine, which is a really beautiful international magazine, and you can order it, Create their website, you can order it there. And then I'm also right now in the current issue of New American Paintings, and they also were affected by COVID. So the bonus for us is that it's a free digital issue. So it's the first time it's free.
Oh, wow.
And you can go to their website. It's also, the link is on my Instagram for both of these as well.
Yeah.
But you can see, and it's such a beautiful publication with amazing artists. So I'm there as well.
That's great. That's great. Is Instagram, more artists have told me that Instagram is so key for them right now in terms of communication. Is it for you too?
It is. I mean, I'm one of those people that is just like inherently terrible at social media, you know. It's kind of a mess. But I mean, I was on Instagram for a long time before I ever even posted anything, just because I think it's such a beautiful platform for visual arts, you know. And it's so, I love just, you know, searching and finding whoever, you know, I found so many beautiful artists there. But yeah, it's great for that. And then for me as well, like, again, I'm not good at this stuff, so it's a slow build, but you know, it is. I mean, people, like, you know, someone just bought a painting of mine, you know, this past week because they saw me in New American Paintings and found me on Instagram. So yeah, I mean, it works. It's a great resource.
So if there's, and I'm sure you must run into this at different points, a young artist that is just starting and has not had, you know, is starting to find themselves and wants to commit to their work. You know, that stage that I'm talking about, that early stage. If you
Mhm.
had to give them a few pieces of advice, what is it you would tell them?
I would tell them this. Okay, definitely, you know, I would say work on your work, right? That practice is very important, you
Mhm.
know. Make what you make, devote yourself to do it, get in the studio, make art, right? Number one. Number two is, you know, get out and network and support other artists, right? That's so key when you're just kind of out, you know. Go to, eventually one day, First Fridays, you know, go to that, join organizations like DSA is a great one here in Dayton. um, you know, go to these things, attend workshops, just learn, right? And
Mhm.
then by having yourself there, like, it does two things, right? You're showing your face and you're supporting artists, you're supporting your community, which is great. But then it's also, people get to know you in an organic way, right? And then three, I would just say apply for things, you know, like, a- apply for your dream opportunities, you know, and apply for things locally. And again, here, if you're in Dayton, there's so many opportunities. There's tons of restaurants and coffee shops that really want to have artists on the wall. Like, that's awesome. You know, there's gallery spaces all over the place, you know, here, that'll host stuff. So apply for these things, and just, the more you do it, the more natural it'll feel, that you'll build it up. And it's a process.
Yeah.
And I along those lines, it just made me
Yeah.
one more space. There's this really great digital platform called So Long See You Tomorrow, that is, you know, it's focused, it's new, and it's focused on kind of becoming a resource for artists in the arts in the Midwest. And I have an article in there as well. Um, Morgan Lawrence is the person that started this. And so, it was basically our conversation was a lot about tips for applying to things. So if
That's
you're,
great.
check it out. So long, see you tomorrow.
So long, see you tomorrow. Oh, this one of the things that I love is that I get to learn something new every day with this stuff.
I mean, there's so much going on.
Oh, there really is. There really
Mhm.
is. Caitlin, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking the time. For those of you who are viewing today, there are many artists, a wide range of artists that we have in the area. We're incredibly lucky. Culture Works is focused on supporting the arts and those artists. If you want to know anything at all about Culture Works, go to their website at cultureworks.org. Um, that's the place you can go right now, especially. You can learn about what it means to be a passport member. You can learn about just joining. You end up getting buy one, get one free tickets all year. I mean, it's an incredible deal. But more than being an incredible deal right now is it's supporting the arts. And right now, especially during this time, the arts are in a real pinch. It happens. And so now is a time especially to be able to support the arts, which for everyone's safety are very much closed down. And the only way you have access is digital. Those live experiences that we usually count on aren't there right now. So please, if you're watching, go to cultureworks.org, check out their website and everything else about CultureWorks. And Caitlin, thank you so much again.
Thank
I
you.
really do appreciate it.
And big thank you to Culture Works.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.